Spurs vs. Jazz Summer League matters for one unexpected reason. The result on Wednesday night will not change San Antonio's championship odds, and several of Utah's most important young players may not even be on the floor. But hidden beneath a matchup that looks disposable is a real audition for regular season minutes. By the end of this video, you will know why the most recognizable matchup may never happen, what Carter Bryant still has to prove, and which Spurs rookie can use this game to take a meaningful step toward the rotation. The scoreboard will tell us who won in Las Vegas, but the real conclusion will come from identifying which player looks ready when the competition, role, and pressure become more serious. The Spurs enter the game at 2-1 in the Las Vegas Summer League, while the Jazz appear to be moving toward the quietest part of their schedule. Ace Bailey, Darren Peterson, and possibly Cody Williams have already shown what Utah needed to see, so there is little reason for the organization to expose its most established prospects to unnecessary risk. That removes some star power from a game scheduled for Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Mountain Time, but it also changes the evaluation. When the obvious prospects leave the stage, every possession becomes more important for the players still fighting to prove that they belong. This is no longer a showcase built around draft status. It becomes a test of who can create value without being treated like the center of the plan, because translatable skills matter more here than empty scoring. If you enjoy content like this, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Carter Bryant is the obvious attraction if San Antonio makes him available. The second-year forward has already shown why the organization sees all defense potential in his combination of size, athleticism, recovery speed, and willingness to accept difficult assignments. His Las Vegas response against New York was also encouraging. After scoring 12 points on 4 of 13 shooting and missing 6 of 7 attempts from 3 against Atlanta, Bryant produced a team-high 19 points while hitting 7 of 10 shots and both of his three-pointers in a 70-49 win over the Knicks. That is the type of bounce-back performance coaches want from a young player, especially after he admitted that rust affected his opening game. But this is where the first major question enters the story. Reports from Las Vegas indicated that the Spurs had originally planned to play Bryant in only 2 games and believed they had already seen what they needed to see. That makes his availability uncertain and means the anticipated matchup with Blake Hinson could disappear before tip-off. If Bryant does play, efficiency will matter more than raw scoring. A difficult offensive night against a depleted Jazz group would revive concerns about whether his defense is already far ahead of his offense. If he sits, however, it should not be treated as avoidance or a setback. It would more likely mean San Antonio considers his current evaluation complete and wants to protect a player expected to have a role when the real season begins. Bryant's larger challenge is learning how to help an NBA offense when the ball is not designed to find him. His defense can earn minutes, but defense alone will not guarantee that he remains on the floor late in important games. He must make open threes, attack a tilted defense without losing control, finish through contact, and move the ball before an advantage disappears. One strong Summer League shooting line does not answer all of those questions, just as one inefficient game does not erase his potential. The encouraging sign is that Bryant's response was not only about makes. He looked more composed, accepted the next play, and operated with greater control. If you value Spurs analysis that looks beyond the box score, leave a like after this point, because that is exactly how we separate a promising performance from a performance that can actually translate. Now the game's second layer begins with Blake Hinson. Utah needs reserve size on the wing, and Hinson has a skill that can create a narrow but legitimate path to the NBA. Dynamic shooting from a strong forward frame. He showed real play finishing ability late last season, but Summer League has exposed the danger in his profile. When the shot falls, he stretches the defense and looks capable of punishing any defender who helps toward the paint. When it does not, his influence can disappear because he is not consistently creating offense, controlling the glass, or changing possessions defensively. That makes this game less about how many shots Hinson attempts and more about whether he can remain useful during the minutes when those shots refuse to fall. If Bryant plays, Hinson receives the cleanest possible test. A big, disruptive defender with NBA experience would challenge his release, movement, decision-making, and ability to stay composed after being denied his preferred looks. Creating clean offense against Bryant would strengthen the argument that Hinson is more than a shooter who became hot at the right moment. But if Bryant sits, the standard should not disappear. Hinson must still defend, relocate intelligently, attack hard closeouts, and make the extra pass instead of forcing his way into rhythm. Utah already knows he can make jumpers. What the Jazz need to learn is whether his shooting can anchor a dependable role rather than produce occasional scoring bursts. And yet, the matchup that could matter most to San Antonio is not on the wing. It is in the paint. Tarris Reed was selected 26th overall after a powerful college career that included stops at Michigan and UConn, and he arrives with a much clearer route to immediate responsibility than most late first-round picks. He earned first-team All-Big East recognition after averaging 14 points and 9.7 rebounds, then elevated his play during UConn's run to the national championship game. His case is built around strength, physical rebounding, interior defense, screens, and energy. Skills that do not require an offense to stop and create special positions for him. That makes him relevant to a Spurs team trying to win now while continuing to develop its future. Reed has already offered evidence that his game can travel. Against Atlanta, he produced 14 points, 10 rebounds, 4 offensive boards, 2 assists, and a steal in only 21 minutes. The numbers matter, but the way he created them matters more. He used his frame to establish position, pursued possessions outside his immediate area, and played with the force expected from an older rookie. Now comes the more revealing question. Can that physical advantage survive against an opponent prepared to meet it? Summer League is filled with centers who look dominant against smaller lineups and ordinary when someone finally pushes back. Jonas Aidoo gives Utah a player capable of applying that pressure, and this is where the tension of an otherwise modest game starts to rise. Aidoo has been productive on both ends, including a performance against Oklahoma City, in which he recorded 16 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 blocks. Those numbers make him more than background opposition for Reed. He can challenge shots, occupy space, and force the Spurs rookie to win rebounds through contact, rather than simply collect misses. For Aidoo, the matchup is also an audition. Utah's primary prospects may be finished for the summer, but he can use a strong battle against a first-round center to show that his own NBA path deserves more attention. Neither player needs to dominate every possession. The winner of this evaluation will be the big man who stays disciplined, protects the paint without chasing blocks, and creates extra possessions without demanding the ball. This is the point where the game connects directly to San Antonio's season. Victor Wembanyama changes what the Spurs can do at center, but the minutes without him still require stability. Luke Kornet brings veteran size and experience, yet San Antonio's playoff run also exposed stretches in which rebounding, mobility, and interior force could become concerns. Reed does not need to replace Kornet immediately. He needs to prove that Mitch Johnson can trust him in selected matchups, on difficult schedule nights, or whenever injuries force the rotation to expand. If Reed can defend without fouling, screen with purpose, and end possessions on the glass, he gives the coaching staff a cheaper, younger, and more athletic option behind the franchise player. Now the hidden truth behind this preview becomes clear. Bryant against Hinson is the matchup with the easiest headline, but Reed against Aidoo may carry the greater consequence for the Spurs. Summer League cannot settle a rotation competition because its defenses, spacing, and guard play are less organized, but it can reveal whether a skill is ready to translate. Bryant has already entered San Antonio's long-term development plan, and the staff may protect him by ending his summer league. Reed is still trying to establish how quickly his role can arrive. If he controls the glass, communicates defensively, and handles Aidoo's physical response, the conversation changes from developmental prospect to legitimate rotation candidate. If he struggles, San Antonio gains useful information about where the roster still needs veteran support. Either result matters more than another summer league victory. So the final conclusion is not a prediction about the score. Spurs versus Jazz matters because it can clarify the bottom of 2 NBA rosters, and San Antonio has the most immediate decision to study. Carter Bryant's status will tell us whether the organization believes his summer work is complete. Blake Hinson's response will show whether his shooting supports a real role. Jonas Aidoo can validate his production against stronger competition, but Tarris Reed owns the night's most important opportunity. A convincing performance will not hand him the backup center job, yet it can move him closer to the trust required to compete for it when the regular season begins. That is the unexpected reason to watch. The player with the least famous name may be fighting for the role with the clearest championship consequence. After the game, ignore the temptation to judge every prospect by points alone. Watch who wins rebounds in traffic, who communicates before the action develops, who makes the correct pass after drawing help, and who remains effective when the first option disappears. Those details will reveal whether Reed is ready to pressure the veteran depth chart, and whether Bryant, if active, is becoming a two-way player rather than only a defensive specialist. And if you want the next part of this Spurs story, watch our full Carter Bryant breakdown after this video. Then continue with our analysis of San Antonio's veteran backcourt insurance. Together, those videos explain how the Spurs are building a roster designed not only to reach the playoffs, but to survive the long road back to championship contention.